The aircraft will not only fly. First, it has to carry itself.
The larger the section, the quieter the room becomes.
The moment the case closes, hidden complexity becomes sealed power. Long before stealth becomes a fighter, it begins where men look like ants beside the machines that feed the age of war.
Every load starts as brute force, raw earth, brutal scale, and a supply chain too large to fit in one frame.
The material moves first, because nothing about this aircraft begins small.
Before precision, there is reduction, stone becoming feedstock under machinery that treats boulders like gravel. Now the stream is sorted, and the first hidden test begins. Purity.
Separate journeys now converge. From here, chemistry takes over, because stealth is impossible without exact material behavior.
And now the Earth is erased, recast into alloys that can survive speed, stress, and heat.
This is the first transformation, but not the last. The real shape is still nowhere in sight.
What leaves the furnace is not a jet. It is only potential, heavy, anonymous, and waiting for the next machine. The first act ends with a question. Which of these silent slabs will become part of America's most advanced fighter?
Here, size turns to strength.
Titanium does not yield easily, and that is exactly why they use it.
Power alone is never enough. Every violent step is followed by measurement.
Even a thousandth too far, and the chain breaks.
Sharp edges disappear, but the process keeps getting sharper. Nothing advances by guesswork, not in a machine built to survive the unimaginable.
These are still fragments, but now each fragment knows where it must go.
Not every section needs titanium's punishment. Some need lightness without weakness.
Flatness becomes critical when every panel must disappear into the next.
First, the outline. Never the whole aircraft, only the hidden pieces.
Stealth starts with geometry, but geometry this exact only appears one pressure cycle at a time.
If the panel springs back wrong, the next station inherits the mistake.
Machine after machine, the tolerance stack begins to build.
Flush is not cosmetic here. Flush is survival. Now the scale returns. One panel, one lift, one reminder of how small the human body is in this process. But the fighter is not only metal. Its neck skin begins in rooms that feel almost surgical.
Here, the violence disappears for a moment.
The material looks quiet, but this is where shape truly begins. Layer by layer, strength is arranged rather than hammered.
Every strip must sit exactly where the previous one leaves off.
Now the machine accelerates what human hands began.
Air is the enemy now. It must be removed before the part can become itself.
And then the piece enters a chamber big enough to humble everyone around it. Heat, pressure, time. The silent trilogy behind a very expensive secret. What went in as layers comes out as one.
Even after curing, the part is unfinished. Stealth does not forgive rough edges.
Different materials, same destiny, converging toward a shape we still refuse to show. Now the skeleton starts to rise. Each earlier part finally finds its address.
The bigger the assembly gets, the smaller people appear.
First the structure, then the skin, always in that order. This aircraft is built like a puzzle that punishes bad timing.
Before the next panel closes this view forever, the geometry is checked again.
Here comes the first real concealment.
Thousands of joins, all serving one purpose: make complexity disappear.
At last, it resembles something powerful, but not yet something whole.
Another major section enters the story.
The center wing is no accessory. It is a structural bargain between lift, fuel, and stress.
As one section grows, the next assembly line is already catching up.
Not every essential operation is loud.
The same logic repeats. Frame, systems, skin, verify.
Across the Atlantic, another team builds the rear sections that must mate without argument.
Separate facilities, same unforgiving language of tolerance.
Distance between factories means nothing if the numbers agree. Distance between factories means nothing if the numbers agree.
Some treatments are visible only when they're being applied. Later, they are meant to vanish. Now the puzzle has another major piece, but still not the full picture.
The hardware that moves at speed is born at a standstill.
The edge matters, because edges are what radar loves.
And just like that, another hidden section disappears into the logistics chain.
For the first time, the scale of the program becomes visible, without ever surrendering the final silhouette.
Everything up to now has been preparation for one terrifying question. Will these giants meet cleanly?
A fraction over here can echo all the way to the end.
The opening narrows, and with it, the margin for error.
The structure has crossed a point of no return. The cockpit does not simply show data, it must tame it. The brains arrive in black boxes built to survive vibration, heat, and time. The brains arrive in black boxes built to survive vibration, heat, and time.
Some of the most expensive surfaces on the aircraft barely move and must remain nearly perfect. Even clear surfaces here carry hidden complexity. Open bays reveal how much of the jet lives where the audience rarely looks.
The machine can almost think, but it still cannot move.
The heart of the fighter is built on a different battlefield, inside the engine plant.
More than 40,000 pounds of thrust begin in pieces like this.
Inside the engine, microscopic error becomes catastrophic force.
So every surface is checked before it earns the right to spin. The engine grows chamber by chamber, still incomplete, still secretive.
Piece by piece, the heart becomes too heavy for hands alone.
Length, heat, pressure, every measure starts climbing.
The moment the case closes, hidden complexity becomes sealed power.
And now comes the question every engine must answer.
If the airframe is the body, this is the heartbeat, proving it can survive.
Power alone is not enough. Now the aircraft must learn to disappear. The work looks gentle. The stakes are not.
Some of the most important layers refuse to perform for the camera.
Because stealth is not only about shape, it is also about what the surface does to incoming energy.
What stands proud on ordinary aircraft must sink away here.
The margin is measured in slivers.
Geometry returns one more time, because coating cannot hide bad alignment. In the end, the machine still needs the hand.
For a moment, the aircraft seems to disappear before it is even complete. For a moment, the aircraft seems to disappear before it is even complete.
Now everything built apart must become one machine.
The chain closes exactly where it was always meant to.
The larger the section, the quieter the room becomes. Thousands of confirmations. No celebration yet. It grows more recognizable and more carefully hidden.
Another ocean-spanning contribution arrives at the exact second it is needed.
A tiny gesture from a worker guides a structure worth millions. From the floor, the machine feels almost architectural. This is where separate factories finally become one conversation. And once again, complexity is hidden on purpose.
You can feel the fighter now, but you still cannot fully see it.
Now the heart returns to meet the body.
This is one of those moments when the machine seems too large to fit where it must.
Millimeter by millimeter, power disappears into the airframe.
Even after the giant move, the final success depends on tiny connections.
And just like that, 40,000 plus pounds of thrust vanish behind a skin.
The aircraft will not only fly. First, it has to carry itself.
Movement is tested long before motion ever reaches a runway.
The male pilot's world closes in behind glass that carries its own secrets.
You're almost seeing it, and that is exactly where we stop.
Now the machine starts to think as one. The first movements are small, but they prove that hundreds of previous steps agreed. It is no longer a collection of sections.
Before first movement, the humans make one last stand against uncertainty.
Line 4 confirmed, sensor array nominal.
For all its technology, the machine still begins by being pulled. And even now, we do not give away the whole shape. After all that darkness, daylight arrives like a reward.
We've checked the ascent parameters, Captain.
Looks good.
At last, the people return to the center of the story.
What you're seeing is not a reveal. It's a promise. In the end, America's most advanced fighter is not defined by one final shot.